We start the programme in India, where at least 260 people have been killed in a train crash in the eastern state of Odisha. Officials are warning that the number of dead is expected to rise. 900 people have already been injured. It's already the country's worst train crash this century. 3 trains were involved in the collision, which all began after a passenger train derailed. Vincent McAvenny reports.
It was supposed to be an overnight train journey, but ended up a disaster in the middle of the countryside. It's believed several carriages from the Shalimar-Chennai Coromandel Express derailed at about 1900 local time. Some ended up on the adjacent track, only for them then to be hit by another train, the Howrah Superfast Express, travelling from Yeswantpur to Howrah. Carriages were toppled due to the powerful impact, smashing open compartments. Rescue teams and residents climbed up the mangled wreckage to try to find survivors. Some who escaped watched on in shock.
10-15 people fell on me when the accident happened and everything was haywire. I hurt my hand and also the back of my neck.
More than 200 ambulances attended the scene and more than 100 additional doctors were mobilised. They worked through the night to try to rescue those trapped inside the carriages and get them to nearby hospitals. It's not immediately clear what led to the derailment of the first train and why the second didn't manage to stop in time. India has one of the largest and busiest train networks in the world, but accidents are common despite successive governments investing hundreds of millions of pounds to improve infrastructure. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi said he was distressed by the incident and his thoughts were with the bereaved families, tweeting, "Rescue ops are underway at the site of the mishap and all possible assistance is being given to those affected." In the morning light, the scale of the disaster was revealed. With survivors rescued, work has begun on recovering the victims. Dozens of body bags lined the tracks beside the wreckage. It's expected the death toll will continue to rise, but already it's the world's deadliest train disaster in some 20 years. Vincent McAvenny, BBC News.
Well, a short while ago, one of the rescuers shared a harrowing account of what he saw at the crash site. And just a warning, some viewers may find these details upsetting.
There was a small child amongst them, whose parents were killed. He was crying and eventually died. Many people were there asking desperately for water. I offered water to each and every one of them. Lots of people, including women from my village, came out to help. There were many injured people at the accident site. We successfully rescued many of them and escorted them to the bus stop. They expressed immense gratitude towards us, referring to our aid as God sent. Witnessing the scene of the accident caused my mind to go numb. I was completely covered all over in blood.
Well, we can now go live to our South Asia correspondent, Yogita Limai, who is in Mumbai. Yogita, first of all, if you could just take us through the sequence of events and how this crash unfolded.
So around 7 p.m. Last evening, this was a train that was going from eastern India to southern India. It was passing through the state of Odisha. It derailed and its coaches overturned onto the next track. There was a stationary goods train there, and the coaches also derailed onto a track in which there was an oncoming train which was going from southern India to eastern India and caused a crash. And I've been looking this morning at drone footage of the accident site, and you can see the scale of the disaster there. It's coaches strewn all across the tracks. There are coaches piled one on top of the other. There's one which is completely upturned, so its wheels are on the top. So this is a massive rescue and relief operation. We've had the police, fire services, the National Disaster Response Force, all in action all through the night, trying to cut through the metal compartments and get through to survivors. They've been using dog squads as well to help them out. The Indian Air Force has confirmed to the BBC that they are augmenting augmenting rescue operations and that helicopters have been deployed in the area. So the first priority, of course, to try to get to any survivors who might still be inside, then to try and extricate the bodies of the victims so that they can be handed back to their families. And after that, of course, a big priority will be trying to clear that location so that the trains can get back on track. 48 trains cancelled as of now, dozens of others diverted.
You talk about that and getting trains back on track. Yogita, there'll be many people who are stranded there, unable to get home, and many relatives who will want to go and see their loved ones in the hospital.
So we already know that some special trains are being organized, especially for the people who are stranded there, to allow them to get out of there. I don't know at the moment if there are any trains being organized in a way that where people can go in, but of course people are using any means they can to try to get there. What we do know is that Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to visit the site. He's already chaired a meeting, and met with high officials, government officials. We know that opposition leaders are also visiting the area. I mean, this is pretty standard practice in India, that if you have an event of such large scale, you will have big leaders visiting the location. But I think there are going to be a lot of difficult questions for the Indian Railways here. That first, how did that first derailment happen? But more importantly, why was the oncoming train not stopped in time?
Yeah, I mean, that is the question that a lot of people are asking, Yogita. You say that there is an investigation that will be underway. How does this accident fit into the history of rail accidents in India? Because we know that India has this huge rail network that operates very smoothly most of the time.
That's right. And while dozens of people die in rail accidents every year, I think the frequency and the severity of the accidents has gone down over the past decade or so. In fact, this particular accident is already being described as the worst of this century, certainly the deadliest in many decades. I'm trying to remember the last time I saw something of this scale. And it's only this morning, actually, when people saw those pictures on television that the scale of it has become clear to people. So there's a lot of sorrow, a lot of shock in India right now. We're told that also actually in the local areas, there are people who have been rushing into hospitals to try to donate blood, because a lot of blood is required to treat the injured. So at the moment, I'd say the mood in the country is really one of shock and grief. But there will be tough questions about how this was allowed to happen.
Thank you very much, Yogita Limar in Mumbai. And it's a national day of mourning in the wake of that rail accident in India.